Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. I hope that your Sundays and your weekends are going well. Kind of got a long weekend with 4th of July, but I think most people are going back to work tomorrow, and then we'll have Tuesday off. But either way, hopefully your guys' weekends are going well. Obviously, the San Diego Padres aspect of that is not the case. It has not been a very good weekend so far for Padres baseball, and we decided to kind of change our stream schedule to just be doing it every Sunday night. Last time we streamed, it was the same kind of thing. We're talking about the not the Pirates, but today we're talking about the Pirates. We're talking about the Red Series, those two. Right before that, the Padres played the Nationals, and I forget, right before the National Series, right? It was Isaac and I. We were talking about what this stretch needed to be. We said the Padres need to win 4 of 6. We said 4 of 6 of the Nationals Pirates series would not be good enough to win 4 of 6. That's what we said. 4 or 6 not good enough. You need to win 5 or 6 of those games, or we're going to lose a lot of faith. Fast forward to today, and it is a really, really rough spot. So, I mean, you're looking at this team, and it sucks. Like, it really sucks to watch. The offense, it's been up and down, and it hasn't been great, but they're not even losing because of the offense anymore. They're losing because you lose a couple guys in the pen. You don't have Steven Wilson. Nick Martinez is in a slump, and all of a sudden your bullpen is terrible. Bob Melvin has not done a good job utilizing the bullpen. I think it's been bad. I thought today was a little bit odd. And if you look into the kind of just like the stats in terms of like Cosgrove's numbers and splits and stuff, like you want to go righty, and that's why they put Nick Martinez in. But if you actually look at the stats today, like it doesn't really make sense to put Nick Martinez in. First pitch ends the game virtually. So overall, it's been really, really frustrating, I think. I'm at the point where obviously we're going to talk about the Padres a lot. We're going to continue to do the channel, continue to do the stream, everything like that. But emotionally, I'm trying to not let it like phase me anymore, because I'm a person that gets very, very tied in to how my team is doing or how my teams are doing. And that's just kind of like, I don't know. I think it affects how I feel, right? I'm clocking out of that because I don't believe in this team anymore. And it sucks to say, and I hope I'm wrong. Like, I'm still rooting for them every single night. Like, I'm still hoping that they pull through. But, like, some of these losses over the past week were insane. Today, I mean, I don't think today was that crazy, but it sucked. The extra innings game, dude, how close can you get to winning a game? Like, Ray Kerr basically has him down to the final out. I don't remember if it was the final strike, but it was definitely the final out. And then you get an absolute piss shot to dead center. The 4-0 game against the Pirates, oh my God, that was a disaster. And you're just looking up at it now, and it's like, dude, what are we going to expect? Because at this point, the bullpen is completely fallen apart. And yes, there have been some guys that have been bad in the lineup, but there's also been some guys that have been really good. Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado have sucked this year. They have been awful. Today, both of them go 0 for 4 in the 4 and 5 spots. And I feel like it hasn't really been me as much, but Isaac keeps bringing up, hey, it's been a few guys that have just been terrible, and they're hitting in the heart of the order. And it's Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, and Jake Cronenworth. Crone did have an RBI in the 9th today, but he was 0 for 3 before that. And it's just like this black hole in the center of the lineup. So, yeah, I mean, I see a lot of the comments here. It was the final strike. Nick has been worse than Tim Hill. The Tim Hill era was like, that was one of the craziest things I'd seen. It didn't even make any sense to throw the baseball to first. See Marcos here, season over. If you're being optimistic, have fun. If you're still being optimistic, have fun being let down. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people are like going to be like, oh, like you can't believe in this team, and they'll get really frustrated about it. Like, I get if someone wants to believe and wants to be like, hey, like there's a chance. Of course, there's a chance. Like, I'm like, what are they sitting at right now? They're sitting 8.5 games back from a wild card spot, and there's 79 games left, I think, maybe 78, I forget. Yeah, they have a chance. 100% they have a chance, right? However, do we have confidence that they're going to turn it around? No. Like that. So that's where it's at. And it's just like, until that changes, that's kind of how I'm going to go through it. I'm going to watch the games. I'm going to root for them, but I'm not going to be really pulling for them that much. I'm not pulling for them, I should say, but not like expecting a lot out of them. I'm pulling for them. I'm rooting for them. I'm still getting frustrated in extra inning games. Like I'm still going to do that. I did that this past weekend, but I'm trying to not make it as much of how I feel because I don't believe in this team as much anymore. And Devin asked this, and I'm 100% going to get into this. And this kind of leads me to it because I want to talk about the Red Series, the Pirate Series a little bit, and maybe we'll go back and kind of talk about specifics there. But I kind of brought up like the choking moments of this team. But Devin asks, "Hey Matt, will you talk about the Seidler comments, dude?" So if you guys didn't see, let me find it real quick. Let me see. I'm going on Twitter real quick, find these Seidler comments as I talk. But basically, if you have seen some of the graphics, MLB's been kind of doing these things where they've been talking about just where the Padres have been at since like midway through last year, and they're like 10 games under 500 or like 15 games under 500 or something like that. They're like not good outside of a little postseason stretch. Well, let's dive even deeper in the AJ Preller tenure, in the Peter Seidler ownership tenure, right? They haven't been good. They haven't been good. They've been pretty good last year, right? And then they had the good postseason run. But I think we also have to remember their postseason run, their two series wins, those are 5 games. Baseball playoffs are so much different than the actual regular season just because of the marathon that is the regular season. And then baseball series, I actually hate this. I hate how short the series are, but you have a 3-game series, a 5-game series, and then 2-7, right? That is such a smaller sample size, like to actually see who's playing well and stuff. And you look up and the Padres have not been good in a while. They had the short COVID year. They would have fallen apart in that year. They 100% would have fallen apart because they had no pitching by the end of it. And you had last year. And outside of that, it's been rough. It's been losing seasons every single year. So I get that it's frustrating, and I'm trying to find these. Here it is. So basically, to get into it, talking about like the struggles, right? Peter Seidler, they asked him if he's going to fire AJ Preller. Now, I don't know if we really listen to these comments or we take them with a grain of salt, because what do you expect them to say? Like, yeah, if we don't make the playoffs, we're going to fire our GM. There's no way he says that, right? That's just not going to be the case. And that's a lot of these quotes from owners, quotes from management and stuff. Like Ben and Woods asked AJ Preller, like, is Bob Melvin on the hot seat, or is he going to potentially get fired? He's like, no, of course not. Like, we believe in Bob. He's not going to go out there and be like, yeah, if we keep struggling, we're going to fire Bob. No one says that. That doesn't happen. So you get a lot of fake answers. I mean, I thought Ben and Woods were asking the hardball questions when Preller went on their show, and he's just dodging them, dude. He's dodging every question. He's giving you kind of just like answers that you're like, all right, dude, like you're not really answering. So basically, I think someone asked Seidler about firing. I'm guessing it's firing AJ Preller, and this is what he said. This is from either Kevin Acee or Talking Friars. Ben Fadden from Talking Friars. This is where I'm getting it from, but I think it's originally sourced from Kevin Acee. But Seidler said, "I'm not afraid to make changes. I never have been, but I really value stability. And when I know the person as well and the skill set as well as I know AJ and Eric, they're not going anywhere, period. I believe in stability. It is something that is undervalued, generally speaking, in organizations and maybe particularly in sports franchises, but I'm not for mediocre stability. I'm for excellence, and to me, AJ is excellence." This is a big quote. Like there's a lot said there, and there's kind of a lot to unpack from that. And I think, first off, talking about stability, the Padres have not had stability. They've had 4 managers under AJ Preller in 9 seasons, and they've kind of bounced around. They have a new hitting coach every single year. So that's just blatantly wrong. That's just not accurate at all. That has not been the case. There has not been stability in San Diego. Look at the players. Look at the development. Guys haven't stayed here a very long time. I mean, the guys probably look at their roster. Look at who's playing for them every day. Like, who are the guys that have been here longest? Kim Cronenworth, Tatis, Machado, and Grisham, I guess, right? Like, there's not many guys. Like, they bounce around. They change guys in and out, and they're going after free agents. They're trading for guys. There's not a lot of stability when it comes to the roster. When it comes to executives and coaching, there's not been a lot of stability either. They fired a bunch of people. In 2021, they fired everyone. Everyone got fired. Last year, they move on from guys. Skip Schumacher left. Like, there's a lot of guys where it's like they're just bouncing around. And so I don't think that's accurate at all. And then to kind of go and this is what I'm saying, I don't think, like, he could have this quote today, and then in a month he could fire AJ Preller. In 2 weeks he could fire AJ Preller. I don't think it means that much, But I did think it was kind of crazy to be like, yeah, I really value stability when like, dude, the organization has not had stability. So I thought it was a pretty lame quote just because I feel like it's just the same classic dodging the questions. Like if you're not watching Padres baseball right now and you haven't been, or if you have been watching Padres baseball for the past 4 or 5 years, it is very clear that there are some serious organizational issues with this team. Every single player that they acquire in terms of hitting wise does not meet those expectations that they have in that first year here than they do elsewhere. And the Padres do not develop anyone. That is the problem. That is the problem. I titled this "The Padres are quickly becoming baseball's biggest joke," and I think that's pretty harsh, right? But it's true. I mean, you're spending $273 million on a payroll, and you have quotes about how AJ Preller is excellent when you're, what are you, like 9 games under 500, 8 games under 500? You're coming off of 3 series losses, 2 of them to absolute ass teams. So it's hard, man. I don't know how you can just kind of be like, yeah, like, AJ's done good. He has not been good. But I'm going to keep looking in some comments here. Yeah, AJ is definitely not excellent. Let's see. People are talking about the win total being under 80. I mean, that has to be what you're thinking right now, right? It's AJ Preller against Bob Mel for power management. I don't even think it's like that. I just think that they don't have the resources. Like, they will make in-game decisions that analytically are wrong often. And I think a lot of people will be like, well, that's Bob Melvin's fault. Well, they don't hire enough analytical people in the organization. So, like, you already have that issue. I think Bob Melvin gets blamed for a lot of stuff. But, and I already said, like, I thought today was dumb to put Nick Martinez in. I mean, literally first pitch, you get, oh, yeah, that was a bad move. I don't like the way he manages pitchers that well. I think he's a good leader. I think he's a good like voice in the clubhouse. I think guys really want to play hard for him. I think he does a lot of things well. I don't think he's the best, but I think blaming him is super unfair. And I think Preller is the guy you kind of have to blame. I think most people have come along with that. But it's just like we're looking at this team and everyone's talking about the numbers. Everyone's talking about where this team is at. People are talking about trading different guys, talking about, Padres and the Mets being the biggest jokes. I mean, I think that's fair, right? Because you're kind of in the same boat with the Mets. Both of you, spend all this money and the product is shit. Like, that's how it's been. And there's no way to kind of do it. That's just how it is. So looking at that, I want to go over some kind of like numbers real quick just with this team. I mean, right now, you had the Kim Tatis back-to-back in the 8th. Those are 2 of your 3 guys that have been producing offensively because it's been Kim and Tatis and Soto. And then after that, Machado's sitting right now at a 692 OPS. Bogart's at a 713 OPS. Cronenworth at a 656. That is awful. Nelson Cruz is at a 691. I'm just looking at today's lineup. Grisham's at a 702. Honestly, Grisham hasn't even been that bad. Think about this, guys. Grisham has a better OPS right now, lower average and stuff, but he has a better overall offensive numbers than Manny Machado, and he is barely below Xander Bogaerts. That is crazy because, we rip Grish all the time. We don't think he's a very good offensive player. He just hasn't been. That's really, really bad. So, yeah, I think people are talking and people are like, oh, should we sell? Should we sell? Ben Woods asked AJ, are you going to sell? And he kind of made it seem like, we're focused on winning and we're going to try to like basically buy at the deadline. If the Padres buy the deadline, they're like 8 games back. Obviously, I could get burned because it could be like, oh yeah, and then they buy and then those guys ball out and then they make the playoffs. But like, if they buy and then they miss the playoffs when they were 8 games below 500, that's completely idiotic. So I don't think it makes any sense to buy. I see a lot of people are talking about, Hader being the guy to get traded. I 100% agree. I mean, dude, Hader didn't go out. Hader doesn't go out for 2 innings. They needed him to go out on Friday for a second inning. They needed that because they are losing so often where it's like, dude, we need to get some momentum. We need to stack a few wins and get going, else the season is going to be like truly over very soon. Unless you do some crazy run, you are not going to make the playoffs. You need your guys. You need your guys to come out there and you need him to go a second inning. So Hader not going out there a second inning, and I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's Bob Melvin whose decision. I mean, probably more likely Bob or Ruben Niebla's decision, but they needed him to go out there. if you can trade Josh Hader for a lot at the deadline and you're sitting a few games back like you are right now, then you trade him because you're not going to extend him. You have so much money tied up. You're not, if you miss the playoffs, you're not getting postseason income, or postseason revenue. And that hurts. Like, you're not going to be able to go and pay him $150 million as your closer. Like, that doesn't really make much sense. We just saw, and I think Edwin Diaz is maybe a little bit unfair because, he got hurt in a non-MLB thing, but like, it still just goes to show, like, we just saw it with Robert Suarez, like with him getting hurt, and like, we'll see if he comes back and stuff, but that's already looking like a deal that looks like, not very good there. We saw with Drew Pomeranz, dude hasn't played in like 3 seasons, making 8-9 mil every single year. So it doesn't make sense to pay a closer. You can trade him and probably get roughly the same or more back than what you traded for last year. So that'd be a great deal. I think Blake Snell's probably the next guy there just because, and it sucks because then you don't have enough arm. So I think he's less likely. Same with Michael Wacha. But they're like, and his contract's weird too. I think he can leave after this year. I think there's an opt-out in every AJ Preller contract. There's like 10 opt-outs. But I think that Hader's like almost, if they're not like really, really close to being like 500 or they're only a few games back by the deadline, I think he's as good as gone. I would be shocked if they kept him. That would be really odd unless they were really planning to extend him, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think that's kind of a bold move just because, I mean, look, they've been struggling lately, right? And he's pitched 1 game since June 20th. It's July 2nd. It's been like almost 2 weeks of baseball, like 2 weeks worth of games, and he's pitched 1 inning. So, like, I don't know. You're not using him enough. You're not getting enough out of him. And if you can trade him for a couple guys that are maybe close to being MLB like ready prospects, that's going to help you a lot more than having Josh Hader, in my opinion. So maybe some people don't want to, but I don't know. I get it. But yeah, so looking at this kind of stuff, obviously we're doing the Bubs giveaways and stuff like that. So anyone listening, I'm going to change it up today because initially the plan for this week's Bubs giveaway was we were going to do it on Twitter. And if you guys are not filled in, not locked in on Twitter, basically what Twitter decided to do was limit the amount of tweets that everyone can see. So I'm not doing it on Twitter because not enough people are going to see it, right? So for the Bubs giveaway, this is the plan. I want everyone to give their grades on the Padres, just what you think of the Padres after I'm done recording. If you're on the live listening there, either comment it on the video post-recording or give a review if you listen on Apple. If you listen on Spotify, find one of those other ones. Anyone that comments that, 1 out of 10, basically your grades on the Padres as a whole and specific players that you want to grade. So we don't got to go through every single player. But if there's guys that you're like, look, Manny Machado has been terrible this year, or, Juan Soto's been great or whatever, I want your grades on the guys that you feel strongly about. Anyone that gives their grades on the Padres will be entered in. We'll announce that winner first thing next Sunday's stream, and we'll do an additional one. So we'll basically do 2 giveaways next Sunday stream, though one of them will happen today. So that's the plan for the Bub giveaway today, just because my idea that I was going to kind of do it on Twitter got screwed up because I don't understand that logic at all of like limiting people's views. But yeah, so that's the plan. So anyone just comment that. I'll mention at the end of the stream as well. And that also gives a chance for the people that don't come into the lives. Cause I mean, most people that listen to our stuff are listening podcast platform. So for people in that, I'm sorry guys, I see all the F's in the chat, but we'll do it next week too, during the live to give you guys a better chance. Cause you guys are always in there. But yeah, everyone's giving F's for the team. I get it. But yeah, but I want to hear people's thoughts, and maybe we're gonna start doing kind of like mailbag stuff again. We used to do that in the past, and it was really fun because we got to hear everyone's kind of thoughts. And I feel like with how bad this team's been, I want to hear people's rants. I want to hear why people are upset. I think it's fun. I think it's fun to talk about. I think a lot of people, they get upset if you like are like pressing the team and like basically being like, oh, they're not playing well or whatever the case is. I don't like that. I think that's just kind of like, if you're always team friendly, then you're not being realistic. And I think even us, like, we're generally pretty positive about the team, but what is there to be positive about right now? Like, we have to be honest with ourselves. This team has sucked. So we'll talk about, we'll go over the stuff then, and we'll do the Bubs giveaway for today, first thing in next week. But yeah, so I want to talk about that. The only other thing that I kind of had on my mind that I do want to talk about is Fernando Tatis Jr. not being named into the All-Star game. This is insane. And if there's anyone on the Padres that has been deserving, it's probably Tatis, Soto, Hader. Yeah, he made it. Soto and Hader made it. Tatis didn't. Tatis is ranked 16th in the MLB in F4 and missed 20 games to start the year. He's probably going to be graded out as the best outfielder, given that he's not playing center, so I guess you got to like take him down a couple notches probably, but the best right fielder defensively, and he has over 850 OPS. He has like, I don't know, like 16, 17 home runs, something like that, and like 15 steals or something. Tatis deserves to make the All-Star team easily. It's not even like a debate. There were some other bad snubs. Wander Franco didn't make it, and Whit Merrifield made it, and Wander Franco has like over 100 OPS points higher, but who is it? Michael Harris is playing in the All-Star game. Michael Harris is not. I'm gonna look at it, but I don't even think he's been that good. I know he's heated up lately, but it's basically the All-Star game kind of sucks. Like in terms of how the guys get in, it's not accurate on who's actually should be in the All-Star game, and we see this in all over sports, in awards, in All-Star games, whatever it is. Yeah, I mean Michael Harris has a 730 OPS. So for reference, Bogarts has a 713 OPS. I think we all feel how disappointing he's been. Michael Harris has a 730 OPS and has not been as good of a defensive player as Tatis. He's solid. He's a young, up-and-coming player, but he's going to be in the All-Star game and Tatis isn't, which is just crazy. So Fernando Tatis, Wander Franco got completely robbed from an All-Star game, and it sucks to see that. I think the MLB does a really crappy job of marketing their players, and maybe they don't want to market Tatis because he got popped for PEDs, but like, I don't know, bro. He pretty clearly deserved it. He was very obviously an all-star caliber player this year. And if I had to like kind of think of who should have made it, I think I would probably do the only other guys I think besides Soto and Hader and Tatis, because I think Tatis was like, I thought he was a shoo-in. I thought he was a lock to make it. The only other guys that I think would have been borderline all-stars, and I want to see how good guys' second base numbers are. I think Kim could have been there because look at second baseman. Usually they're not playing that well. I don't think he would have made it, but I think he's like almost like a fringe player on there because Kim's having a hell of a year. And then the other guy would be Blake Snell because Blake Snell has been a beast. Blake Snell's ERA is almost in the twos. He's almost at a sub 3 right now. So those are the only guys that I think could have made it. But I'm saying all this. Let's look at some of the other guys on this roster. Machado, obviously not. Bogarts, obviously not. Cronenworth, obviously not. I want to say they were all All-Stars last year. So the regression is crazy. And even if I'm saying like there should be a few guys that should be in the All-Star game, like Tatis, obviously, having only 2 guys with how much money you're spending on a roster and how much star power you have, that goes to show you how bad this season's been. So that one's rough, man. It's bad. So I think that overall, that's like those are the big things I wanted to talk about. But I want to see how is Castellanos an all-star over Tatis? Who wants to watch Castellanos? Yeah, I mean, and he's had a good year and everything, but like we have to remember how good Fernando Tatis's defensive numbers are. Like his WAR and stuff, like where you actually looking at value of someone, like it is ridiculously good. And I think he's just always going to be a player that gets kind of slept on now. People already didn't like Tatis in the first place. So I think it's something he's going to probably end up dealing with a bunch. But like you look at his outfield numbers, dude, outs above average, 95th percentile, outfield jump, 86th percentile, arm strength, 98th percentile, and he leads the league in assists. He's the best outfielder in terms of defensive runs saved. And man has 16 bombs, hitting 280 with an 867 OPS. Like, if that's not an all-star, then I don't know what we're doing. Like, why are we even doing this? I was also hoping that Tatis would hit in the home run derby because I was like, all right, the Padres aren't good this year. You don't want to have your guys hit in the home run derby, jack up their swings in a year where they're, where you're really, really competing. And yeah, like you are competing still, but like this is a year where he should have gone in. And I was really bummed because I was like, all right, that's actually something I can look forward to. Baseball season, it's been a bad baseball season, but I would love to go watch Fernando in the home run derby. Not gonna be the case unless, I don't know, maybe home run derby you don't have to be in the All-Star game. I don't really remember, to be honest. But yeah, Tatis is better than all 3 of the starters for the All-Star game. Yeah, I'm gonna look up the full roster. See, and also start any questions you guys have. Start asking them because those were like the big points that I wanted to talk about. The Seidler comments. Wanted to let you guys know about the Bub stuff. Want to talk about Tatis All-Star game. Didn't really want to talk about the Padres' recent performances, but we did. But yeah, I'm gonna pull up this roster right now. Let's see. I wish you could have it with numbers too. I don't think this has it. So the starters, yeah. Corbin Carroll. Okay, Corbin Carroll definitely deserve. Corbin Carroll and Ronald Acuna deserve it over Tatis. They have both been insane. Acuna looks like he's going to run away with the MVP. Mookie Betts, how good has Mookie been this year? Let's see. This is not his stats. I don't know what this is. But I mean, who are the other guys? Let's see. I want to see that because that's what's more intriguing to me. The reserves. So all of the reserves, outfield wise, Gurriel, Castellanos, and Soto. And then like Soler also made it as a DH. I mean, I don't even know. How does Castellanos make it? How is Gurriel doing? There's no way he's been that good. Let's see. He is hitting. Yeah, he has not been as good as Tatis. He has an 811. He's a worse OPS, and he's not as good of a fielder. Like, oh god, it makes no sense. It's just it just sucks to see. But it was a big bummer, man. Like Tatis totally should have made it. So, let's see. Got some questions. Ray Kerr pitching for the home run derby. Mookie has been raking lately. At least home run rise. Yeah, I mean Mookie should make it too. I agree. But yeah, I see some other stuff. Fans didn't vote him in. I don't think all the voting is the fans. I think only half of it is the fans. And even if that's not the case, then the fans should be voting for Tatis, just because he's been better. And if it's all fan voting, that's really stupid. It doesn't make any sense. I'm surprised Drew Carlton is over Tapia. Yeah, Carlton has not been too good. The state of the Padres bullpen has been absolutely killing them lately. Nick Martinez in his last 7 outings has been awful. His ERA is over a 4 now on the year. He started out, he was like a sub-2 guy for a while. Yeah, in Nick Martinez's last seven outings, he has a 13.5 ERA. He's given up 12 hits in 6 innings and 10 runs. And he has a whip over 2. And if you go even farther back, in his last 15 games, he has a 7.4 ERA. So, he's been really bad. And without Steven Wilson, without him playing well, there's because earlier on in the year, the Padres bullpen was great. And I think this is something that we were kind of talking about with the struggles offensively that were a lot more prevalent early. You're still seeing some of them, but not to the same extent that you were early on in the year. But it was like, hey, you're losing so many games by 1 run, like 3-2, 2-1, stuff like that, where your offense is just dead. And our whole point was that's going to burn you because your pitching can't be this good. You had back-to-back months where your pitching ERA was the best or a top 3 pitching ERA in back-to-back months. And you had a bad losing record, 10 games under 500 in those 2 months in June and May. So you didn't take advantage of your pitching playing well. You can't just bank on everyone staying healthy from a pitching standpoint and to keep dominating at that level to bail out your bats. Now we're not seeing it. Now the Padres offense is putting up more runs in a game, but they're blowing a lead every single night over the past couple weeks, and that's what's killing them now. So it's been bad. I mean, Tim Hill's been getting rocked too. The only guy that's been that great lately outside of Hader is Cosgrove, and he's been excellent, but you're all right, now we're in desperation mode because Robert Suarez has to come back soon. Steven Wilson needs to be back very, very soon. And you're oh God, I don't trust most of the bullpen. That's bad. So it's tough there. I saw someone asking about Morahone. Morahone is weird because sometimes he'll go out there and he'll look so dominant. His breaking balls what does he have, the knuckle curve or whatever it is. It's a knuckle something. His breaking stuff will just look nasty and he'll just look so dominant. And then other times he'll come out there and it's just meatball. And then it's a bad outing. He had one a couple days ago like that. Today, it looked pretty good overall. Also, I wanted to bring this up. I thought this was kind of funny, but okay, last time we streamed was Sunday, right? So we had 2 series. We had this Pirate series and the Red series. You had 1 win. The win was when you scored 12 runs. Your offense went stupid, right? All right, let's go back a little bit before that, right? National Series. You had 1 win. You scored 13 runs. All right, let's go back another series before that. 4-game series against the Giants. You had 1 win. You scored 10 runs. So you've won in the past 4 series. You have won 3 games, and in every one of those games, you've scored double-digit runs. That's how bad the bullpen's been because they blow it every single time. It's not like the Padres' offense isn't like scoring like a lot. Like they haven't been great, but like you have a lot of 4-run games, like a lot of 4-run games in this stretch, or even like 3 or whatever. And they're games where the starters go like 6 innings and allow a run. Like it's very rare that the Padres starters have not given them a quality start over the past 2-3 months. It's very rare, unless it was like a weather start or like a like a random start in the for someone else. But that's really bad. Why do we think Cosgrove was taken out? Hack's ass, because the Padres, they just don't like use a good analytical approach. They throw in a struggling pitcher because they want the righty-righty matchup. When the righty-righty matchup didn't even make that much sense in that case because Tyler Stevenson was like he's like pretty solid against lefties and stuff, but like all of his power numbers are against righties. He doesn't have a home run this year against lefties. Someone commented this on our tweet on Twitter. I was saying this, and also like the other thing is Cosgrove has good numbers against righties. So you're trying to get this or was it? I think it was righty matchup that you're looking for, but you're trying to get like this specific matchup. Like I want the same arm. That's not how it works. Like there's guys with reverse splits. There's guys that he's struggling. Let's look at it from that perspective. Oh, Nick Martinez has been horrible. Maybe let's not put him in because Cosgrove has been balling out. Like the decision making, and I don't think this just is. I think in this case, like maybe we blame Bob Melvin or Ruben Niebel for making that decision, right? But it's across the board. It's not just in game. It's signing Matt Carpenter to a 2-year contract for like $16 million. When if you looked at his numbers, you would see, okay, this guy was horrible for 3 years in a row. And then he went to the Yankees and he had like a 60 at-bat stretch where he was hitting a bunch of home runs to the short porch. And then he ended up coming back from injury and sucked. And you're going to look at it and go, we're going to ignore everything else. But those 60 at-bats that he had were pretty sick, huh? Because he hit like 15 home runs in a short porch that's not going to translate to Petco. And that's what you do. You're not looking at a real sample size. You're just going into that. You're just kind of making these like bold decisions and this like not really looking at like where you're getting power at your positions. Like the Padres have an advantage because they have, not really anymore. They used to have a big advantage in terms of the lineup just because they would have a plus hitting shortstop with Fernando, tons of power there. Manny's third base, but there's a lot of good bats at third base. And then you also had, Kim you had Cronenworth at second, and he was a much better second baseman offensively than other second basemen. And now you're looking at it, you're like, okay, well, where are your like good bats at? Well, right now I guess it is second base with Kim, but it's your corner outfielders. Your center fielder's not a good hitter. You have the 2 struggling guys on, at third and short with Bogarts and Manny, which is disappointing. But your first baseman, you have no power. You basically had an automatic out at catcher for the first, third of the year, I guess. I don't know, like the first third of the year with Nola. And it's like, dude, it doesn't. These moves don't make sense. Like, why do you not have a first baseman that can slug? You're missing out on an opportunity to make your lineup better. Why are your DHs 2 guys that are washed? Like, why is that your move? And instead, you're going and getting a shortstop when you have 5-6 shortstops on the roster. Your top prospect's a shortstop. Like, we don't need a shortstop at every single position because that's what look at the Padres infield. Right now, their entire infield are all shortstops. That's all of their first position. Manny's first position, shortstop. Bogarts, shortstop. Kim, shortstop. Cronenworth was a shortstop before he moved to second base. So, and now to first base. So you're just signing shortstops. Like, there's a reason why shortstop is so valuable because they're needed defensively, right? But the majority of shortstops don't slug. They don't have a lot of power. They're not as great offensive players. And that's like, for instance, why like you can live with Grish not being a great bat because, all right, he'll hit ninth. He'll give you gold glove defense. He'll be okay. He can be a hole in the lineup because he's so good at center field, right? But you have that now where it's just like you don't have enough power. Like you don't have it. You're wasting a DH in a first base spot. And because like the thing is like, even if Bogarts and Manning were having their struggles as bad as they are right now, if you had competent numbers, and I hate to throw Cronenworth under the bus, but like it's just being brutally honest. If you had competent numbers at first base, DH, and catcher, keep in mind you're not asking a lot of your catcher, but you are not wanting what Austin Nola gave. And I guess Gary Sanchez has been good enough now where like that's kind of changed. But if you would have had competent numbers for an average catcher, first baseman, and DH, the Padres would probably be 500 or better right now. But you don't. And it's just a stupid decision. There's just so many decisions that are made that there's no rhyme or reason. There's no way to justify making those moves. So I think it's rough, man. I think that's where I'm at right now. I've been on here for 36 minutes, dude. I haven't taken a breath yet. This is kind of crazy. I don't usually do the solo streams, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else you guys got? I am rocking the Tatis jersey today since he got snubbed. It was pretty cool to see Kim and him go back to back, like the two like kind of guys that usually are getting going in those spots. And then you just get another heartbreaking loss, man. It's just heartbreaking loss, choke after choke. It's been really, really tough. But yeah, anything else? I'm not really seeing too much. Campy getting injured was probably one of the worst things that could happen. Yeah, that was really unfortunate because he was also looking good too. That was the other part. Odor smoked the ball at the end of the game today. Dude, yeah, he had an absolute liner. I thought he was going through. I thought they tied it. And I was like, okay, like this is cool. Like we're actually getting some late runs in this series. And also like this is a crazy one because forget like it. You can't really forget it, but like in this series, the whole issue is that the Padres have not been clutch, right? They were actually clutch late in the game offensively in both their losses this weekend. And they still end up losing them both because the bullpen shit the bed. And that's a problem where it's like you need to be able to like fire on all cylinders consistently or decently consistently if you're going to be good. I guess the Braves are like a bad example of that as like a good team that does that because they've had like no starting pitching and they're just like, all right, we're just going to slug the living shit out of the baseball. We're just going to hit bomb after bomb after bomb and no one's going to beat us. But they're also getting like MVP caliber season, an MVP caliber season out of Acuna and their lineup is just nasty. And that's why they've been so good. But I mean, it hurts. Yeah, I see people. We know Xander's hurt, but Manny, he's just playing bad. I mean, Manny has been awful. Like and it sucks because it's crazy how night and day last year and this year have been for Manny because Manny was carrying every single time, coming up with all of those big clutch hits. It feels like he is a massive hole in the lineup right now. And it's really weird to say that. And it sucks to say it, but it's the case. But yeah, I think that's probably going to do it for me today. Thank you, Charlie, doing a solo with a great stash. But yeah, so, I mean, I've been talking here for a little bit. Anyone that joined a little bit ago, Bubs giveaway, comment. I'm going to end the stream in a minute here. Comment your grade on the Padres team, A to F, 1 through 10, whatever you want to do, and comment any specific player and give your grade on them. It can be the whole team if you want. If you just want to do the handful of the stars, Bogarts, some of the struggling guys, do that as well. But I want to hear the grades from everyone. If you're listening on a podcast, you want to be eligible for the giveaway. We'll be announcing it next week. Do a review or like a rate and review. Put it there. Come to YouTube. Put it there. Wherever it is that you want to do it, put it there, and we'll get to you. But yeah, shout out Bubs one more time. That's who we're doing it with. $50 gift card. So really happy that they're doing that. And then next week during the stream, we'll do another one. So we'll do 2 next week. One of them will be from the comments. One of them will be from on live next week. We'll have everyone that's in the actual live stream enter, but gonna do that a little bit there. But yeah, we'll have some other stuff out. I don't know what our videos are planning to be this week, but we're gonna do I don't know when we're recording either, but we're gonna do some MLB stuff, which is gonna be exciting. Gonna be talking about like the biggest like surprises of this season. Hint, hint, the Padres and the Mets and the Cardinals are definitely going to be on there as one of the groups of just NL teams that were great last year, completely shitting the bed. I think Alex Manoah is definitely going to be on that list as well, just because he has completely fallen apart. We'll talk about some of the exciting teams as well, some of the guys that have just broken out. I don't know if we'll talk about the Diamondbacks, though, because, like, we all had faith in the Diamondbacks. Maybe they still deserve it because, like, but we liked Corbin Carroll a lot. We liked the Diamondbacks team a lot. We thought they're going to be really good. But I guess they're, like, kind of a surprise in a way just because they're breaking out. But yeah, if there's any other kind of MLB stuff you want us to start doing, any other, Padres related stuff, I know we're going to keep talking about the trades and stuff. Our last video, we were talking that it was basically just about the Padres probably should trade Snell and Hader. It's probably going to be their best move. And since then, that has been established more and more and more after every single loss. So we'll continue to talk about trades, do some mock trades, stuff like that. Maybe talk about like what a trade for Hader would look like, potential suitors, stuff like that. But if there's anything else Padres MLB related that you guys want us to talk about, let us know. But with that said, guys, I'm gonna hop off. But it was fun chatting. Even though it's a little bit of a it's not a great time for Padres baseball. It's still fun to talk and hanging out and chatting with you all. So appreciate you guys hopping in. And excited to do 2 giveaways next Sunday for Bubs as well. But thank you all for listening, and talk to y'all soon. Peace.